Hey Dago, how you doing?
Man, I am good. Living the dream over here in Austin, Texas.
Down here in Austin, Texas. Yeah. I actually was talking to my friend who lives down in Austin too, and I think her story is super fitting for the guest that we'll be having on today. But basically, she was telling me about how she's been trying to buy a house in Austin. It's been a total nightmare. Anyone who's looked at the housing market in Austin knows it's like incredibly difficult to get a house now. But basically, she was telling me that all of the houses that she's been putting in, bids for to possibly buy, a huge piece of the process is waiving inspections. And to me, just being in this industry, I'm just like, that's a huge red flag. I'm nervous. I'm
It's
nervous for
it's
you.
no way, man. Well, I think it's like your spine you get a feeling, it chills up your spine when you're at a house and you're looking at it and you're like, oh, this looks good. And then you see BMW pull up, look at the house and drive off. You see a Tesla drive up,
Yep.
pull away, Lexus, all of these people just going through these Austin neighborhoods, looking at houses and being like, all right, I'm going to buy that one cash.
Cash, no
Because that is a
inspection.
real thing.
Real
And so
thing.
there's so many, yeah, that's a real thing. And there's so many people just waiving their inspections, waiving any kind of just like oversight. And they're just like, "Well, I just need a house," right? Because people are tired of paying rent. Rent is
Totally.
ridiculous right now. Let me get in a mortgage. At least I'm paying towards something, some kind of equity.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I couldn't do it. I mean, have you ever waived some kind of inspection?
I haven't. I'm not a homeowner, so I haven't waived an inspection yet, but I do have
Even the
someone who
Carfax? Even the
the
Carfax?
Carfax.
You haven't been like, show me the Carfax right now.
Show me the card section. No, but I think it's becoming something that's more common, especially in housing. And when we think about roofing, and it fits in with what Paul will say later on in the podcast, waiving these inspections, sure, to get the house seems like a nice, okay, I'm going to waive the inspection. I'll beat out the BMW, I'll beat out the Tesla, and we'll just move in. But God forbid you waive that inspection, you move in, you move all your stuff in, you get a new couch, you're so excited. And then you look over at the kitchen one day after a little bit of Texas rain and oh gosh, drip, drip, drip. And you're going, oh,
Uh,
I wish I didn't waive that roof inspection in any way, shape, or form. And I wish I had a roofing contractor come out and actually do the inspection for me.
Oh, and even I mean, even the when you do get the inspection, sometimes those folks miss things because
Totally.
the industry's so hot right now. Their inspectors doing like tons of inspections every week. They're trying to keep track of everything they've seen. There's so much going on in the industry right now that it's like hard to be like, I trust that inspection. And that's where associations like the National Roof Certification and Inspection Association come in. They help contractors stay on top of their game, position themselves with real estate agents, other inspectors, homeowners, and other roofing companies as the authority in their areas, their communities on roofing. And I've had a really great time with Paul, Sarah, and I did talking about what they do for for roofers and how their association can help roofers, but also how associations can help home improvement contractors generally. I think there's a lot of value in joining associations and getting that community buy-in and that community power together. So without further ado, here's our conversation with Paul.
Enjoy.
Hey, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today on the Change Order podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you about what your association does for roofers and the industry. I think what you guys do is fascinating. So can you tell me a little bit about what NRCIA does and how you guys help roofers?
Yeah, good morning. The association is passionate about providing roofing contractors and other contractors either another revenue source or how to improve their current systems in ways that affect the bottom line. So, and we do that by educating on the inspection process. We have online education, goes through a bunch of different courses and tests, and we provide the accreditation that you can use on your business cards, along with the trademarks and the logos. And then we follow it up with a inspection reporting software that you kind of, take all the field images and knowledge, package it in a report, and put that in front of your customer in a professional format. The reports are photocentric. So think about complete transparency. Our goal is to educate the homeowners the buyers, lenders, whoever it is, educate them on the roof system and provide direction in ways that meet their financial needs.
That's awesome. I think, we can talk about the software a little bit later because I think it's really cool. I was actually looking around at the demo video and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I realized that when I got my home inspected, that's the software that they use for the roof, because we had like multiple roof inspections because we were like, no, this roof needs to get redone. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the education. I think it's so important for contractors to be competitive in this market through education, right? Because there's so many people trying to get through the door, get in front of the homeowner, but to really close that deal, especially nowadays when everybody has the internet and thinks they know everything, like how important it is to have that educational foundation to be able to like close deals or, be more professional, have a better customer experience. So how does an association like yours or others help contractors be more competitive in their markets?
We're in a changing world, and it's constantly changing. We're all working in businesses, on businesses, have relationships that we always need to put our attention to and continue to improve. Same with your companies, and even within the industry of roofing, there's always new products. So education and continued learning and that drive and determination is super important and impactful on differentiating yourself from your competition.
And I wanted to ask you also, I think it's important to have that certification or that badge or that that thing that really separates you, but how do you suggest people actually take, they have the education, they have the knowledge, but how do they promote that certification? Like, how have you seen people do that very effectively?
The best ways is, from a cost-effective standpoint, people know their individual marketing campaigns that work, better than others. So what I would recommend doing is utilizing those avenues first. So you're not spending a ton of extra money. Use your logos on all of your branding, your website, your trucks. The NRCIA logos and trademarks, business cards. Something that was really impactful for me was being relational with my end customers. And a lot of times that's real estate agents. And that market is super saturated. So like everyone knows a real estate agent. That's your foot in the door. Their family member or friends, tell them what you do, how you can help their business and their customers create that value.
And I think this is my final follow-up for this part, but I think going back to the technology part, I think it's very interesting that, when I see a contractor, because I'm a homeowner, I think it's great when they show the technology that they use on your home, so some roofers are like, we have this drone that goes over your house and all this stuff. But how do you suggest someone who uses your software or any software for that matter, how do you suggest they market that as well? Because it's it's one thing to show screenshots or whatever, but like, how do you present that to a customer? Like, hey, I know you want to get your roof looked at, but here's what I'm going to do. Like, how do they differentiate themselves using technology before they use the technology?
So something that I kind of drill home with my guys is that every time you write a report, you need to make it your best report. And the reason I say that is every single report will be seen by 4 or 5 different people within one transaction. And the fact that people will have your report with your name and your company logo, knowing the quality of not only your inspection, but also the software behind publishing this report, that'll help a lot. Software is super important. We're constantly changing that and improving that. So it's a very valuable tool. The biggest thing is complete transparency for our customers. So our reports are photocentric. There's lots of photos. So basically our customer can see exactly what we see on top of the roof and the thought process behind coming to our determination, rather than shopping around different quote unquote roof inspection companies who give their opinion on company letterhead. So there's a vast difference, and it's all centered on education.
Totally. And I love the idea that it's not just one person who sees the report, because I think that's super valuable. And the idea that if you're really preparing something that looks professional, the homeowner feels like you're really there for them and not there to just make a sale and leave. It has a totally different view. And then that kind of word of mouth of, they took the time, they created this beautiful report. Look at these pictures. I never knew what my roof actually looked like from inside the house. And in learning more about your organization, I really love the idea. I know that you guys have kind of this leak-free roofing certification, and it's something that you give homeowners. Why is it important for roofing contractors to give homeowners assurances like this, and really make sure that they're leaving the homeowner understanding like your roof is good, you're going to be good, for the next 5 years, or you need help. So, why is it important for roofing contractors to have something like this leak-free roofing certification?
Well, kind of on a big picture, there's about 6 million homes sold every year. And that represents 5 or 6% of the real estate market. And of those homes, a lot of them are, inspected by general property inspections. And while those are general, we're specific. After those houses are sold or after those inspections, there's still roofing issues that weren't picked up. And so that certification that the NRCIA offers is peace of mind and roof assurance for the property owner. So there's, precise steps that we have to take in order to be able to issue that certification. But once that certification, is issued on that property, it gives the end customer roof assurance.
Totally. And they don't have to worry about, moving into the property or having something come into the property and then, a year later having to spend, $12,000 to get the roof replaced. That's it's interesting that we're based down in Austin, and the housing market here is obviously incredibly hot right now. I think it's cooling a bit, but I was speaking with someone who waived a bunch of inspections on their property and then ended up having to pay, around $10,000 in the first weeks of living in the house to get their entire HVAC system replaced. So having those, professional people come in who actually know what they're looking for is so important.
It's very important.
Yeah, it's hard to compete against those cash buyers. You have to waive. It's such a crazy market here in Austin.
Well, when you're spending that much money in this hot market, when you're spending this much money on houses and structures, it kind of makes sense just to do a little extra due diligence up front and get that peace of mind, or at least the knowledge of what you're going into.
Right. I mean, last summer I had to get a new HVAC system, and it wasn't covered under my home warranty because the previous owners had tried to fix it themselves and had just made some kind of some kind of fix it yourself kind of DIY thing, and it voided the home warranty on the unit, so I had to buy a whole new unit out of pocket. But the inspector, he was just like, it's fine. It's just an HVAC unit and it's great and it's working. It may need to be replaced in a few years, but if I had someone who was more, who was certified or who had, an actual HVAC specialist look at it, they would have been like, oh no, this is you guys need to do something about this, please. Or lower the price on the house, which they didn't do, obviously. Because
if you take that same scenario and kind of move it from HVAC to roofing. So if that HVAC system had been certified, the certification would have picked up on normal wear and tear and anything that we missed during our inspection, where your home warranty, like you said, won't cover it and your home insurance won't cover it. So it really is, in case something happens, the roof is certified.
Right. And that's, I mean, and like you mentioned, like with real estate agents or even home inspectors, or, you know, the whole real estate industry, the machinations of it, educating those people that you are a resource for them, so like they can protect their customers, they can, you know, on both sides, the seller and the homeowner and the home buyer. I think, I mean, you have to communicate that to them. I have a kind of like a side question, but the millennial home buyer, this is like a thing, right? And I think the landscape of home buying is changing, right? Because you know, the baby boomers, they are, you know, they're either holding on to their homes or selling their homes, you know, into retirement. Gen Xers are, you know, they've bought a lot of homes, but now millennials, they have the buying power to buy these homes, and eventually Gen Z will get there, and then Gen Alpha, you know, all these generations. But you know, there's been a lot of studies about just like the difference between this type of homeowner, right? And I was wondering if you guys do any conversations about how millennial homeowners are different, or if you guys talk a little bit about how like there are generational differences. And I'll like give one example. Millennials are always on the internet, they do all the research, but somehow they still have no idea what they're talking about. I am one of them, right? Like I'm like you know, what was it, trees. I paid, and anyone who listens to the podcast knows I paid like $4,500 for trees last week.
Wow.
And so I'm just, yeah, I know. And I was like sitting there looking up Mexican ash trees, life expectancy, you know, am I getting swindled? But is there, you know, something to that where education for a contractor or a home improvement professional can unlock an entire segment that maybe they weren't familiar with?
Yeah. And I think that's where I think the process of your entire roof care plan, starting with the initial inspection, through the report documentation. So that whole process, there's points that, you know, stick out to different generations. So we all learn differently. Some are written, some are verbal, some are visual. And our process brings all of that together. So, you know, the older generations, they want a little more hands-on. They want to be, you know, talked to and worked with and through, where, you know, some of the younger generations want to do all the online research, and that's great because they can do that. So our process kind of touches on all of that because we don't want to leave anyone out. So.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you a little bit about safety. Do you guys do safety trainings? And I know sometimes, you know, the contracting world can be a little bit gung ho and like, you know, you don't have to wear glasses, you know, or yeah, I mean, not really, but you know what I mean? Like it can be a little like, what are you, you know, just get up there. How important is safety, I guess, from your point of view when it comes to the roofing inspections and education and training? And how does safety on behalf of a home improvement contractor or professional benefit a homeowner?
Yeah, it's a huge benefit, especially if, you know, obviously hire a licensed and insured contractor. That's, you know, number one. And, you know, have all your proper insurances. Safety is huge, but the insurances are there just in case something happens. So that's one. Obviously follow, you know, log in and complete OSHA's safety training. You know, that would be one of our recommendations externally, but we also have online training. When you first become a member, we have, you know, online training, and there's a couple safety classes in there. Werner's given us some ladder safety classes. We've also made a course on rooftop safety when you're inspecting roofs, mounting roofs, you know, that kind of thing. Construction is dangerous. Roofing is extremely dangerous. That's why workers' comp is so high. Things happen, but if we can stay proactive and keeping safety at top of mind, then we can mitigate. We can mitigate as much as we can.
I have a little bit of a follow up on that. And this is just my own ignorance because I'm not a roofer, but do any of these certifications or safety training like help with an insurance premium at all? Have you seen that at all?
It so as far as like workers' comp or general liability, no. I guess it's possible, but that's not something that's been really talked about. However, the leak-free roof certification side of things may offer an insurance discount on their premium for homeowners if they have it on their property. Not safety-wise.
That makes sense. Right, because
Still a dangerous job.
It's still incredibly dangerous. And I guess having like those assurances and those additional accreditations on your house make it so like if God forbid something happens, you know that the blame can't be placed on like a faulty roof, something of that sense, because you just got it looked at.
Yeah, it was inspected, it was documented. You know, there's tons of different contractors that would want to do roof inspections, like your solar installations. You know, you want to document any pre-existing damage before they mount the roof and start, you know, putting their penetrations in. So, you know, this is a lot bigger than just roofing. A lot of different industries can either use the training and the education or refer to someone within the association that can help improve their business.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I saw a really interesting statistic on your guys' website that like something like 85% of roofs in the United States have damage of some type, whether it's, you know, leaking, you know, shingles that have fallen off. It seems like a high number, but it makes a lot of sense. And I think something that's a huge benefit of certifications like yourself and associations that you guys offer is having the ability to position yearly checkups and maintenance for homeowners and really show them, you know, yearly coming out, how that can, you know, impact the longevity of your roof, and understand like how we can catch small things early on. How can roofing contractors within your organization, you know, position these roof checkups and maintenance for homeowners so that it can help them have, you know, more of a recurring revenue stream?
I think it's all how you package it. You know, and it's some people want to go out just for a one-time service and all right, I inspected it. We need to seal some pipes and then your job's done. You know, I don't like to end it there because I just established a relationship and I want to create lifelong customers. So I do that. The association does that through the process of a roof care plan. And basically we start off with that initial inspection, get you kind of out of that 85% number. And then from that point on, we can, you know, follow up yearly and keep you updated, stay proactive. That way leaks don't occur. And if you do that properly, you'll have a customer for life. So, and other industries do that, you know, just maintenance, you know, pest control companies, they come out quarterly. So, and
it's an incredible, valuable way to build your pipeline as a roofing business. You know, there's nothing more expensive than acquiring new leads. You got to pay for them. You have to do Google, you have to do Facebook. So if you can make sure that every single lead you have stays in your pipeline with that type of education and that type of check-in and really that type of care, when it does come down that the homeowner, you know, does need a roof tear off and replacement, you're going to be the first one that they call because they know that, hey, you've come out here, you know, every 2 years and really checked on us, made sure it was good. And, you know, now maybe we want a metal roof or now we want a different color than the roof traditionally was, and you'll be their first call.
That's exactly right. I get calls from 5-6 years ago or even longer saying, you know, you helped me back then. I want to use your service to replace the roof because you did a great job. So totally. And that's just because you build that confidence in the buyer.
You build the confidence and you build the value proposition beyond the cost. And I think that's something that when we think about how competitive the roofing business is, you can always find someone who can do it cheaper, right? Yeah. Like you can find a guy on the street, he'll go buy some shingles on the street and put your roof on. Like that's no problem. But it's finding someone, especially with a purchase of this size, who's actually going to have your best interest. And they want to make sure that the roof is going to last. You know, you're not going to see 5 shingles fly off at the first sign of wind.
Well, and that's our obligation as contractors is to, you know, our customers are in different fields and they probably have no idea about roofing. My job is to educate and inform them and let them make their decision. So.
Absolutely. This is our final question here is, how does having NRCIA credential bring additional credibility to your business? And I think one of the ways that, I would posit this is also just like, what are some of the other like benefits, right? Because it's one of those things. So I come from association marketing. When I was at Better Business Bureau, one of the things was like, there's value past the seal, right? There's like the seal, and then there's value past that. And so I think, I looked through your website and I looked through all of your offerings, and there is a lot there. But I would like to know a little bit more about like how NRCIA credentials can bring more credibility, more value to a roofing business, but also like, maybe a little bit of encouragement to people to maybe, if they're not in roofing, to look into their own industry associations, and maybe they can get some of that value too.
Yeah, there's value in community, and that's what we're providing, is a spot for roofing contractors or other peripheral industries to come in and start that inspection and certification process. Besides the seal, the value behind the association is really based on good morals and ethics, doing business right, doing the right thing, being transparent. You're kind of held to a higher standard, and our members need to be part of that mindset and lead their company and their workforce, helping people out. We do have we're searching for active partnerships in order to continue providing more benefits for our members, such as roof measurement tools, different CRM softwares. We're creating these networks to make these third-party vendors more accessible and cost-effective for our members. Keeping up with technology and all that stuff, it gets very expensive. So we want to provide, preferred partners and other vendors that can help expand their business.
I think you said something really, really powerful there with the higher standard thing. I think from the contractors that I've spoken with, they've always mentioned, like, I do my best work. I try to provide the best service. I try to do the best by my customers because I know that is what's going to keep me in business long term. And it's, that extra bit of assurance for the homeowner that they can, they're accredited, if they have the certification, they have they have their ducks in a row. I think that giving them that assurance that you're not just feeding them BS and you actually know what you're talking about is huge. And then the other part, I think, which I think is one of the things about associations that I do like so much, is the buying power of having so many people in one group. Collectively you can do so much more. And I think you nailed it there with the community is such a big part of it. Because, would I just want to work with one company, or if I have an opportunity, can I talk to several thousand companies? I'm going to go down that avenue and I'm going to try to get those thousands of companies to work with me. And the associations are such a great avenue for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys are just more of an area of trust. I think something that, in talking to a lot of contractors, I hear is there's like a lot of coaches, contractor coaches. There's a lot of, threads on Reddit talking about different softwares and different ways to go about it. And it's a lot of information, but sometimes it's hard to actually get to the truth of like, what's going to be the best software for my business. And I think a huge advantage of an organization like NRCIA is you're born from the industry. You guys aren't just coming in and being like, hey, this is what you should do. It's, hey, this is what we've done for our business. We've seen it work. We want to help other businesses and create a community to replicate that. We're not just going to suggest, A, B, and C to try to get you to buy, more leads from this vendor, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a proven model. it really works, and the, conversion rates go up, and just the way that you can explain things and open up different products and lines of service that you didn't really think of before, just because you're kind of, introduced to a new type of process.
Totally.
And in an industry where like there's a lot of, contractors get a bad rap because of bad apples, and it's hard to overcome that. So, when you go into an appointment, people already have like a preconceived judgment that you may or may not be out there for the right reason. But if you're accredited, you have your company logo shirt with your patch on, in a nice truck, you're clean cut, and that goes a long way. Perception is everything, and you only have one first impression. So
totally. And then when you are able to go up on the roof, take pictures, show them the work that you're actually going to do, and tell them what's happening, instead of just being like, you know what, we measured, it's going to be $12,000, half up front, half at the end, and then you leave. It's a totally different customer's experience at the end of the day.
It is.
No, awesome. Well, it's been so great talking to you, Paul. I think a lot of really interesting takeaways here just on continuing education and creating a pipeline for yourself on being professional, educating people, and continuing to learn and grow your business. And if you want more information on NRCIA and how they can help your business, feel free to visit getheart.com/MB/NRCIA. And the link will be in the bio description of the podcast. And Paul, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're in California, so it's a little bit early there, but nothing like waking up and speaking with Doggo and I to get your day started.
It's been fun. Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Of course. Thanks, Paul.
Paul.